Hey friends, welcome to the Johnson City Living Podcast, where we learn about the people, places, events, and flavors that make Johnson City just a lovely place to live. I'm your host, Colin Johnson, with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. If you're interested in buying or selling a home in the area, or if you're looking at investing in a rental property, give us a call at 423-930-8003, and we will look forward to helping you. Now, let's get to today's episode.
It is a beautiful spring day here in March in Johnson City, the best place on the planet. And I am super excited for you guys to meet my new friend, McKenzie Templeton. Welcome to the podcast, McKenzie.
Thank you for having me.
Since you're an avid listener, you probably know what the first question is that's coming. It's, what is your favorite thing about Johnson City?
Oh, gosh.
McKenzie, I feel like you just may have said, hey, I don't listen to the podcast a whole lot.
No. It's such a good question.
It is a great
There's
question. There's so many facets, so many things you could choose from.
Well, I'll tell you what I told somebody the other day. There were some new residents that we were having dinner with, and they had said, like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't know a restaurant to recommend. You just pick something. And I was like, well, here's the great thing. You can have lived here 5, 10, 15 years, and you're still not going to have tried everything.
That's true. We got a lot of different
every
flavors.
Every time you think you're getting close, 10 more things will open up.
That is kind of a good thought. Mitch, I think we should go on the road to try every restaurant. Everyone. And stay ahead of the curve. Like as they open, we hit them right as they're opening. That'd be a good one. Okay, so you're not here to talk about restaurants.
Unfortunately.
You are with some organization that does talking, and it's really fancy, and I see it on YouTube and all over the net. It's really it's kind of taken off. And you brought it to Johnson City. So tell everybody what you're doing.
Yeah. I always love to tell the story of how we got started because it absolutely was not planned, which I think sometimes the best things seem to go that way. So we had an individual in the Young Professionals of Johnson City who had come up to me at a service event. We were packing food boxes at Second Harvest Food Bank, and I didn't even know her name yet, but we're sitting here packing boxes, and she looked across at me and she was like, I have a crazy idea. I feel like every good story starts like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's hear it. And she was like, I want to bring TEDx to Johnson City. And so it was one of those asked for forgiveness, not permission type things. We're like, yeah, sure, let's just go for it. And so with the Johnson City Chamber, we were able to get that started, and we're now here on year 3. So crazy that it just came out of one person who was really excited. Her name was Chloe Philpott, and she's kind of helped start these all over the country as she's moved around. So she's not here right now, but I think she might come back into town to watch the event this year. I think she's in Nashville right now. But really thankful for her for her leadership and guidance getting this started. And
that's super cool.
Growing every year.
Yeah. Good job, Chloe Philpott. That's awesome. Okay. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Gate City, Virginia.
Yes.
So
right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about Gate City? Tell our listeners all about Gate City.
I still am really thankful for the small town feel and just that sense of community that I grew up with.
Yeah.
It is one of those places where you knew everybody, everyone I graduated with.
What is the population of Gate City?
About 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could know everybody.
Yeah. So graduating class, super close-knit group.
Yeah.
And obviously the location was really nice because I had family that was deeper in Southwest Virginia. I had a lot of friends and family over in Tennessee, so I always felt like I could just be wherever in 30 minutes. So.
Yeah. And then you decided to move to the big city?
Yes.
Did you go to ETSU?
I did. So I moved over here in 2018 to get my degree, and I fell in love with Johnson City.
What'd you get your degree in?
Media and communications.
Oh, that works out well for your role. Convenient. Sometimes that doesn't work. Like you get a degree in horticulture or something, then you're doing podcasts. Who knows? And selling houses. So
I don't know anyone that did that. No.
Now you're recently engaged, right?
Yes.
That's exciting. Who's this fella?
His name is Ryan Ketchrin.
Ryan Ketchrin, and he does what?
Commercial real estate.
Commercial real estate. Go Ryan. So what do you and Ryan like to do for fun in Johnson City?
So recently we've been getting into like all the things outdoors. So perfect timing with spring. Tonight we are going to the Washington County beekeepers meeting. That is probably not something a lot of people our age.
Well, I think there's probably some people listening that are like, that's pretty cool because I keep bees.
Yes.
I'm all about the bees. And
yeah. So we're getting into all those sorts of things. So we've started, we got a beehive. We're also in the Appalachian RC&D group's gardening class right now.
Okay.
So we're in their Build It Up backyard program. So they've come out and tilled in the last couple of weeks, because we live in city limits. So it's really cool that we're able to do all of this.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a garden, and we go every month with other people and kind of learn alongside each other. So
That's super cool.
all the things outdoors, kayaking. It's going to be a fun summer. It's going to be busy, but it's going to be a good summer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think people say the outdoors here are just fantastic, and I would agree. Yeah, we have a lot of pickleball players, a lot of golfers, a lot of tennis players, a lot of bike riders, Tweetsie Trail. We got it all.
Absolutely.
Just, yeah. So what was your first job?
So I started out in retail. So probably my love for working with the public, she said, a little casually. You definitely get a good mix of everyone, right? Like working in retail, like Black Fridays and the holidays.
They can be a lot.
The best and the worst in people.
Yeah.
But it's definitely where I guess I loved or learned to love, just being able to be of assistance to people. So, I started out in the Kingsport Mall working at JCPenney's.
Nice.
So good throwback there.
I like it.
But it was definitely a good first job for sure.
That's
Taught me
awesome.
a lot.
Yeah. Now, have you had multiple jobs between then and now?
Yeah, I was fortunate, and I'm an optimist. So when I look back at COVID and everything that happened there, I was finishing up my degree at that time, so I had a lot of remote opportunities come from that. So had worked with a few nonprofits on the West Coast, doing some brand projects, and then after I graduated, had briefly worked at Cumberland Marketing in Kingsport, and then I'd come to work for the Johnson City Chamber as their Director of Young Professional Development. So I'm now at Bridge, which is a non-traditional regional economic development organization. So it's been a cool, you can look back and see this like common thread I think, that ties everything.
Now so you're with Bridge, and is your sole role like handling TEDx?
So it's a little bit of a few things. So I'm their development director. So as a part of our strategic plan, air service development is one of the core things right now. So increasing flights at Tri-Cities. So I work a lot on that project. We also do research market data. So being able to provide data to possible businesses coming into the region, relocation data, tourism numbers, those sorts of things, just anything that can help supplement, the budding economy we have here and bringing more.
You're going to be a good friend to know because I can probably ask for some data.
Absolutely. And I've already had some Keller Williams people reach out. So, we love being able to provide anything like that can be of assistance. So those are probably my two main things. And then TEDx as a part of our talent attraction and retention initiative. So that's why the theme this year was highlighting past, present, and future Appalachians. So all of our speakers have that commonality of they've either lived here before or they're getting ready to live here.
Yeah, that's super cool. And all right, tell us about the conference. When is it happening?
Yes, Tuesday, June 3rd. It's from 5:30 to 8 at the ETSU Martin Center for the Arts.
Tickets still on sale, or are they sold out?
They will be on sale until the night of the event.
We'll ask again at the end, but how do I get a ticket? Where do I go?
ETSU Martin Center's website.
Okay. Get on the website, yeah.
We have general admission and VIP. The VIP might sell out before then. They usually do. But other than that, we should sell all the way up until doors opening that night.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's going to be epic, right? I think I saw a friend of ours, Ryan White, who's been on the podcast, and he cuts my son's hair, and it makes it look really good, and he's going to be on there. So that's exciting.
We're excited about him being on here. And actually, funny enough, I just missed a call from him on the way over. So, which is great timing, though, and that's why he's calling. So they all just met for the first time this past Saturday, all of our speakers. So,
gotcha.
We have 6 of the 8 from the region. So all locals except for 2, one of which has family from the area. She lives in Charleston, South Carolina currently. I believe they are talking about possibly moving back in the near future. We know that happens a lot in Johnson City. And you just can't get away from us. You just want to come back. Yeah. And then we have another lady who had grown up in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, has now moved to Pikeville, Kentucky. So she's also from the region. So a good group this year. I say it every year, but I do think this is the best year yet. The best year yet, yeah. Tell me some of the topics that they're going to be going over. Yeah, so we've got a good interesting mix this year. There's a little bit on, and again, this will all be kind of subject to change because as they just started working this past Saturday, everyone comes in with their idea. And even you might have an idea for a TED Talk and say, if I ever got the opportunity, this is what I would talk about. And then the second you get in those doors and you start talking with this group, and we think that is honestly probably one of the coolest parts about being a speaker, is not just the opportunity to speak on stage that night, but the connections that you make with your class.
100%, yeah.
So they get in there together and they start talking about their ideas, and you'll just slowly see it morph as we get closer to the event. And then we've had some people scratch it a couple weeks before it's, due to be performed, and they'll say, hey, I just started over completely. So as of now, there is time management. There are going to be talks on, branding yourself, branding Appalachia, those sorts of things. We've got living multiple lives, talking about, being kind of this jack of all trades, like what are the benefits to that? So what we really try to do is at least one talk should resonate with every single person that watches that night, watches online afterwards. But having a good variety, we think that's the most engaging way to keep people interested. And the hope is that if something doesn't, instantly click to you, if you're looking over the lineup and you're like, I don't know if any of those are necessarily my thing, that night while you're listening, you might be like, I'd never thought about that, but that actually does pique my curiosity.
That's cool.
So you might discover a new passion just from listening.
Yeah. Now, the format, how long do they have to talk?
10 to 12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes. So you got to get it kind of done.
Yeah.
And it's from 5:30 to 8 to... Yes. How many speakers total, you think? 8.
We have 8 speakers total.
Okay.
And so, you're doing the math, and we have 3 performances in between that. So it is very much go, go, go that evening. So that's another thing of, we want to do that on purpose so that you're not sitting here thinking, oh, I'm talking or listening to 8 people talk in a row. So we'll have 2 speakers, a live performance, 2 speakers, and we just keep alternating that way. So in addition to those speakers talking about their passions, we're also going to have an acoustic hip hop performance. We're going to have a folk performance, and then we have a spoken word artist.
Oh, yeah. That'll be cool. Yeah. Now, tell me about planning this event, because it's got to be, it's not like you just threw it together last week.
Yes, it is a year-round pursuit for sure. And I was talking to someone about this yesterday. We're trying to help one get started at Virginia Tech, and she was asking me all these questions, and I don't think I truly understood how much goes into it until having to go through.
Oh yeah, do that and that and that, and oh yeah, we do that too, and that. Oh, and don't forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think it's one event a year. How much time can it take? But honestly, so when the event takes place on June 3rd, of course, after the event, we get a little bit of a breather. But we debrief the event, and then we're actually trying a new partnership this year with the Johnson City Public Library, where speakers can come back and do maybe a lunch and learn or something. So that if you missed your talk, or if you had a Q&A possibly be able to happen, that people can get some more engagement that way. So that'll probably happen June, July, August, somewhere in there. In September, we'll announce that we'll start applications again. That'll probably open October. We review those with the committee. Then they'll do a second round, resubmit a video. So hopefully everyone's chosen by December, notified. January, they come in. They know that they're chosen. We get their paperwork and headshots and things like that. And then they start with our speaking coach in March. And then they work on their talk all the way up until June.
Oh, wow.
So in between all of that, we're trying to market everything that's happening, keep the audience and everyone that's interested, keep them interested, all the way up to the next event every June.
That's super cool. Let's say somebody's listening and they're like, I want to do a TED Talk. Like Mitch over here. I'm sure he wants to do one. And so how would he get on the list? Yeah. You said you had to you interview them and that kind of thing?
As soon as it opens up, the application's open to everyone. And I always tell people, and I know it sounds like very cliche, but honestly, anyone can give a TED Talk. That's the purpose of them expanding it from this brand of only actors and famous scientists give TED Talks. Okay, they started all these different divisions so that the communities would feel empowered to be able to highlight their local people.
Yeah, so anybody can do it.
About.
Gotcha.
So literally, if you have never spoken on a stage or spoken in front of more than 5 people, you can still give a TED Talk.
That's super cool.
You don't even have to be an expert in your field. You can just be very passionate.
Yeah.
So when that application opens, it's open to anybody. We also have a nomination portal so that if you're one of those people that thinks you're not good enough, somebody else will nominate you for us, and we will reach out directly.
Mitch, I'm nominating you. He's laughing. Yeah, that'll be good. I like it. I love it. And then he said they have a speaking coach to help too.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. Her name's
Donna Taylor. She is over the speech and debate team at ETSU, which has been just absolutely thriving over the last several years, and we know why. Donna is fantastic.
That's awesome.
But yeah, she works with our group, not only in that group setting at our workshops, but also one-on-one up until the event. And it's not just, people think maybe it's just writing the TED Talk is the biggest part, but it's really everything on stage that night, from what you wear, if you have props, obviously how you present it. A lot goes into it. So they also get the benefit of not only getting to share that on the stage that night, but the professional development leading up to it.
That's cool. Yeah, I think if you're scared, fight the fear and just do it, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people let the fear keep them from doing it.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. And we've had people even just coming off the stage last year just like burst into tears and be like, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
But it really just takes, like you said, just pushing through it.
And you're talking 10, 12 minutes. Yeah. Come on. You can.
Especially if it's something you love, right?
Right.
Like, just don't look at the hundreds of people in the crowd. It's fine.
Yeah, you got to shoot the lights in your eyes. You don't even, it's just a big blank space
honestly.
out there. Yeah, so just apply. Who are some of the past people that you're like, oh, you guys need to go back and listen to this one? Or,
gosh, well, I can't pick favorites.
Hi, we won't do that. But how could people go back and listen?
Jerry said we do have playlists of all the previous events on our website, so TEDxJohnsonCity.com.
Okay.
We have had people, we've had people from Atlanta drive up to be in TEDx Johnson City. And the reason we have speakers that are not just in Johnson City, I always like to tell people about this. Obviously, there are events in several communities around the Southeast. But we always prioritize that the theme of our event is around Appalachia. So a lot of times we'll have people that maybe they don't have an event closer to them come up to speak at ours. We obviously prioritize locals, but it also just depends on who applies that year. If you've got a strong talk, an application, we want to have you on our stage. We want to have you come speak to our people. So over the years, we've had some incredible individuals. And I say over the years, we're not just on year 3. But I know it's just going to get better from here.
You're just practicing for when you've had like 20 years of it, doing it.
Gosh.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of talks.
A lot of TED Talks.
That's a lot of TED Talks. Well, and I guess, do you thrive in this kind of like environment where everything's coming together? Like we're headed to one evening. It's like, ooh, it's got to happen.
Yeah. I'm very much a details person, funny enough. So sometimes it is easy for me to get lost in those and forget the big picture.
Gotcha.
But then on the flip side of that, I think sometimes I'm very much like, here's the vision.
Right.
How the heck do I get there?
Yeah.
So TED has been this perfect teaching moment for me year over year of how to simplify those things and how to make it more efficient so that I'm able to focus on all of the pieces at once, not just say, okay, this has to get done this week because this is pending.
Yeah, that's helpful because my wife's super details and I'm like, we'll figure it out. It'll work.
And that's why we're lucky. We have so many volunteers and committee members who also are able to, balance where I'm not good in one suit, they're able to pick up there. So
yeah, that's super cool. What have been some of the challenges with the TEDx talks?
I think,
did you have pushback from a community like when you were trying to do it the first time?
I started to say notoriety for sure. People just being aware that we existed was hard in the first year or two. Because you'd either have people that were like, oh my gosh, there's a TED event, and maybe they'd get confused and think we were like the actual TED organization, which we're just a part of, right? People would be like, oh, TED official is coming. And we're like, okay, we're not allowed to say that. That is not, they're in New York. We are TEDx Johnson City. So there was a lot of that mitigating.
But is it like explain it to me like I'm 6, because it seems that you all are a offshoot of the real TED.
Yeah, essentially. So we are licensed officially through TED.
No, I got it.
So I went to Atlanta and got the training 3 years ago. So that is the requirement for it to actually be branded a TEDx event.
Gotcha.
The X stands for basically like held by your community.
Extra.
Yes. There you go.
What does TED stand for?
So historically, it was technology, engineering, and design.
Okay.
So when TED originated, all of the talks had to be under those 3 topics. But now, obviously, you can speak on absolutely anything.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
They've had a lot of change and growth over the years. And then I think even their current executive director right now said there's some more stuff coming down the pipe. So we're not sure how that's going to affect us. We might even be branching out ourselves at some point. We've talked about growing this event across the region.
Yeah.
So
TEDx Kingsport,
TEDx anywhere.
We could release the TEDx Bristol's coming. It's Bristol, baby. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. Like, I know for me, this is just me thinking, like, I remember it being like really cool. Like, TEDx, we need to watch the talks. And I think maybe it was because of COVID, and I was just watching lots of videos, right? And then it's kind of gotten out of my purview. So I guess marketing it is hard. There's a lot of noise out there, and so how are you competing with all that?
Yeah, and I think some generations are probably more familiar with it than others, because I'm even thinking the only times I had heard of it before was, in the university setting. We would watch one in class, and I never thought that I could watch them for fun. I thought it was always I watched TED Talks.
And so I'm the guy who's been out of college for a number of years, a long number of years, and I watched them for fun and education too. Like I'd be like, oh, well, I could learn from Deepak Kapoor on something like, like why would I watch just another YouTube video and watch the whole TED Talk on it?
Exactly.
Which would be kind of cool.
And I think the cool part now too, and so this is something we've got to try and figure out a way to collaborate with, is even with other TEDx groups across the state. So I think it's interesting now that I know that, there's so much more out there than just, okay, I'm going to learn, this statistical thing and from my math class, is that I can look at TEDx Chattanooga or TEDx Nashville and see what else is going on across the state and hear from other people. So it's still relative because they're Tennesseans, but it's still different because they're not here.
So regionally, and then you could maybe, since they're regional local, you can go hang out with them and say like, tell me more about this. And you gave your talk 3 or 4 years ago. You probably have new data research experiences since then that can.
Yeah. There is a meetup happening in Atlanta, I think, here in about a month, and it's going to be all the organizers in the Southeast. So I'm hoping to go to that and just be able to collaborate and get some best practices from them as well. Because when I attended the one in Atlanta 3 years ago, that was their international conference. I was one of about 20 Americans in the whole conference. So it was already like information overload of, it's our first year. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the first event off the ground.
Right.
But here I'm asking for best practices, and you're in a country, hours from us and have done 20 of them before.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now it'll be nice to get with people who just understand our demographic a little bit better. And maybe there'll be some new ones like us too that we can kind of learn alongside.
Do you feel like once a year is enough? I mean, because that's only 8 people. I mean, you're kind of shaking your head like, I don't want to do 2 of these, Colin.
We definitely talked about it, because that is the hard thing is, we get sometimes upwards of 200 applications, and it is hard to just pick 8. And we had to actually scale back. I think we had done 10 previously, but it's just that evening, it's a lot for both the speakers and the attendees. So we do have options in the future. TED allows you to put on salons, or what they're called, and they could be maybe 6 months before that event. So to help break it up. We're hoping to get there, but it'll be the same process like I talked about earlier. It'll be trying to do that at a greater frequency.
Gotcha.
We'll have to figure out, is it just
because my thought would be if you did it every 6 months or quarterly, and then you had the big one on, it would continue to drive momentum.
Yes.
And maybe only have a couple speakers one night and something, just throwing it out there, brainstorming with it.
Yeah, we are hoping to do something, because that is what we've seen over the last few years is A, it's growing, but B, people have reached out and been like, how do we stay involved with it? And so I think that would be a good way to keep them
engaged, instead of like, forgot about that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you missed it last night. Sorry, you have 364 days till the next one.
I almost think I had that same thought last year. I was like, that would have been like I saw it on Instagram or something, or Carly showed it to me on Instagram. I was like, that would have been cool to go to. So we need to get our tickets. I'm going to get on before you all hear this, before this gets released, and get tickets. Tell us about the bridge while you're here, let the region and people outside of the area know about that. What is that, and how does it operate, and how does it help our region?
So we are privately funded, and we're a non-traditional economic development agency. So it's a little different than I think what people picture when they're thinking about economic development in general. So the best way I always describe it to people is, think about our area. There's going to be some communities who maybe can have a full-time economic developer in their, at their city government level, at their county level. But there's going to be some communities that can't afford to do that. It's not in their budget. So what we seek to do is fill the gap, not only presented there, but then just, let's say maybe your budget also doesn't allow for you to pay for certain softwares. Like I was talking about the data earlier. We have actually had several communities in our region reach out and say, I can't believe you offer this. This saves me $15,000 a year. We're just going to get rid of ours, and we'd love to just come through you all and do that. So, and we're in the same boat TED is in terms of, increasing this awareness, because Bridges has changed some names over the years, but now we're trying to really make it clear, we're here serving Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
Okay.
That's a big change from the previous organizations, but really just seeking to grow the regional economy. And that looks like a lot of different things, and it's going to change. And the strategic plan we have right now says, it's air service, it's that data, it's tourism support. Obviously, that's growing, but it's doing it for the entire region and the benefit of all. Understanding that if one community wins here, it doesn't mean that another community down the road loses.
Yeah, I think that's been cool to see. I remember going to, and I meant to go this year, I didn't, but the Economic Forum.
Yes.
Probably 10 years ago, maybe. Has it been that long? 8? Anyway, we were talking about the region as a whole, the Upper Appalachian Highlands, and because we used to fight against each other, like, oh, we want that Coke plant to come to Johnson City, and we're going to cut you a tax deal that that can't, and like we're fighting, and it doesn't help. And so I love that we're working together to grow our MSA, and
because we get it. Competition has to exist. Like that's how the market goes. But to your point, our people don't just stay within one zip code their whole lives. We travel to go visit people. We go eat other places. We'll move more than likely. Your kids, you might go to church somewhere else. Like we live regionally, so it kind of makes sense.
We really do,
and should function the same.
Well, and growing up here, going to Kingsport was a big deal. Going to Bristol was a big deal. I've, go all over the place now, and so it's not a big deal. And I think having people move here too from bigger markets, and they're like, oh, you're worried about driving 25 minutes to to Kingsport or Bristol. I mean, I drive 25 minutes to go to the grocery store, and we're like, oh, okay. We don't want that. We want to still have it be 20 minutes. And so anyway, it's,
we don't see.
Hopefully you guys can figure out traffic and let's get infrastructure ahead of
that is a big piece of it.
Ahead of marketing.
Planning for the future for sure. Because we know we're going to continue to grow. So just making sure we grow in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the snowball is turning over. I mean, it's headed down the hill, and it's only getting bigger every year, and it's going to be continuing to grow, which is great. I mean, I'm glad that everybody gets to.
Healthy things grow.
They do. And I think we're, when I meet with different people and hear different things, I'm really encouraged at how we are trying to forward think. And I know the commission here in Johnson City, you're working on a 35-year plan, and I think that's really encouraging. So had we had one of those 100 years ago, it might be a different story for some of our city layout stuff. But anyway, can't go backwards. We're just going forwards.
Exactly.
So anything else that Bridge does that we need to share about that you want to share?
Yeah, I keep mentioning the air service piece because that really is one of the bigger.
Well, I have people say, now I have to fly into Knoxville, right?
Yes.
I go, no. And they go, what about, or Nashville? Is that closer? I'm like, no, so we actually have an airport. It's pretty awesome. Now, you sometimes can even throw your bag on the plane yourself and help gas it up and then, ride with the pilot if you want, but it's not that small.
We are super blessed with this airport for sure.
Awesome. We love it. Carly and I just go, we don't have to get there 4 hours early.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Show up literally right before your flight.
Well,
If you're brave, but walk right through, and it's just, we're so lucky to have it. And I think we take that for granted, a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people say, and I think a lot of it too is just, and I noticed this not long ago when I was booking a flight, efficiency is great, but sometimes it can hurt our smaller communities. Yeah. So when you go on Google and you say, hey, I want to fly to X, Google says, oh, well, if you'll go to Asheville or you'll go to Knoxville, you'll save this much.
Right.
You are thankful for it in that moment, but you don't understand the impact that it's having on your local economy because you're using
and I think it's
elsewhere.
Extremely short-sighted. Like every time you go to Asheville and get on the plane, you're excited. And then you come back home and you're like, well, crap. I got to drive back from Asheville, and there's traffic out the wazoo, and I'm super tired. And the plane, because I saved $48, it came in at midnight. And so I'm getting home at 2 a.m., where I could just roll right in from good old Bluntville and be home in about 20 minutes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working to do, is providing a minimum revenue guarantee to an airline and it's one that we don't already have. It would be new destinations that we don't already have as well. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, if that destination is something that I don't want to go to, how does it benefit me? Well, it drives down the overall cost of all flights, supply and demand. So that's what we keep trying to emphasize to people. And that's why we've been so thankful that so many of our local governments have been already supporting this.
Yeah. And we could come up with a whole campaign like, how do you know? You've probably never been to Des Moines. Just get on the plane and go and figure it out. It's going to be awesome.
And so that's the great thing too, is like we've spoken with these airlines and they're just as interested in making sure the location makes sense for them financially as it does for us. So, we think about it as, oh, these are places we might not want to go. But you have to remember, that means that people from there are wanting to come here.
Which is
says a lot about our region, but it also means we're bringing dollars in from tourism.
So tourism, commerce, yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
So fly local. That's
fly local. You're going to thank you yourself later on the backside, but then be like, thank you, Colin. Yes, I was super tired and I only had to drive 20 minutes instead of an hour and a half from Asheville or Atlanta or Charlotte.
Yeah.
We used to drive to Charlotte. I'm like, no. So
yeah, it's worth $48.
It's worth the $48 or $148.
Yeah.
And the people here, are awesome. And even the TSA guys are like super cool.
Oh yeah, much better.
Yeah. I mean, they're not looking like they're looking at you like, hey, what are you smuggling in here? I mean, They obviously check stuff, but they're a little.
That's a good point. No one talks about that. We do have the friendliest people.
They're pretty cool. They're like, hey, you probably want to take your gun and put it back in your car, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're really.
You take that knife and just put it on back. Yeah, you can't have like a giant bottle of shampoo. Sorry.
Yeah.
But some places you go, they're like, you're going to jail. 2, you need to pour that out now. You need to drink all that shampoo right now. Like we can't have it in here. No. I'm like, you need to chill out. Okay. So off of the airport, but I'm glad you guys are bringing more stuff. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying, my wife, she doesn't like to fly a lot.
Okay.
But I think it's fantastic. So I'm excited to get some more destinations.
It's a good one to get started on. My first time flying, I said, I will not like this.
Yeah. She's gotten a lot better. We flew a lot the last year, and she's gotten a lot better about it. Okay. So anything else you're excited about that you're working on right now besides this awesome TEDx conference?
Yeah. We've still got a lot of momentum that we love that we're seeing with our young professionals groups. And so I mentioned earlier that I previously was working with the Johnson City group. I'm happy to say that where 3 years ago when I started in that role, we only had 2 YP groups in the region. We now have 5.
Nice.
Which is just crazy because it just, again, speaks to the growth that Johnson City is seeing as well as the entire region, especially in that 21 to 40 age demographic. So I'm excited to see what they keep doing. They've got a lot of regional events coming up, so we love to see that because, again, our people are going all over. So it's been really nice to see, whereas before I think it felt kind of like 2 islands of just like, okay, what are we doing? We have all these young people, and now it's like they're budding up everywhere and they're wanting to collaborate. And that's great for our region. That builds a love and a passion, and it makes people want to stay. So we love to see it.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it is good. Selfishly, I wish there was, maybe a little older age limit on the YP groups, but, maybe Mitch and I can start our 40 to 60-year-old group. And you want to get that rolling, Mitch? Never mind. He's so young. Mitch, you're so young. Just surrounded by young people. All right. How can our listeners connect with you online or just call you up, whatever you want to throw out there?
I sort of say our website, TEDx Johnson City, has everything. Of course, Bridge as well, any of our services or anything that we can do.
How do people get to Bridge? What's that?
Bridgeregional.com.
Okay.
Yep. And so
we'll put all these links in the show notes too.
I appreciate that.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
big on LinkedIn. I always say that too. I do a lot of messaging, honestly, through there. I've had people reach out before that I'd never met before, and I'm like, all right, let's meet up. So I would say that's people too. If it's something that could be an idea for either TEDx Johnson City or Bridge, reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
There you go. That's cool. I love it. What's something I didn't ask you that you're like, oh, I wish you had asked me this question?
Oh, I thought you were thorough.
Okay.
Oh, this was good.
Anything else that you like, hey?
No, I think this about covers it.
You ready for the speed round?
I'm energized. Yeah, now I think I'm just like more pumped to
let's go.
about
All right. Where do you and your fiancé like to get a cheeseburger?
Okay. So glad you asked that. So that might have been the question that I wanted you to ask. So we have fallen in love with Dairy Cup in Mount Carmel. So not in Johnson City. It is worth the trip. And it is a trip.
It's like an hour to Mount Carmel.
It is, but it's
But it's worth it. And the drive is awesome. And you get to go past a couple of military installation-y places.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And if you keep going, they have some gorgeous parks down on the river. So that's usually, if we're going for the parks.
Okay.
Dairy Cup just so happens to be
Dairy
right.
Cup. And so I'm
Get you a
assuming they also
milkshake.
have ice cream,
Absolutely.
milkshakes. Okay. That's like an insider tip right here. Mount Carmel. And Mount Carmel's thanking you. They're like, thanks, Bridge Lady, for bringing us into the region because we're the little forgotten stepchild out here.
It's perfect. The antique stores, it's got a little bit of everything. But yeah, on the weekends, we like to pick another, a smaller town or whatever. And we
That's
like to
fun.
go grab an ice cream and
Tyler, we're going to
parks,
the
good.
Dairy Cup. It's going to be awesome. There's the Dairy Bar in Jonesboro. Have you been to
Yes.
that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I am an ice cream fanatic.
Me too. I could eat it every day, all the time, and weigh easy 500 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be not a problem.
That's why we go to the park. We walk
Not a
off.
problem. All right. Where do you guys go for pizza?
Cool. We have not grabbed pizza that much recently because Main Street closed. That was our favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've still got to try out some more. I saw some people posting this morning about Galaxy Pizza. I think it's a new
Never
one.
heard of that.
Yeah, same. So there's a lot. And then Scratch Pizza.
Yep.
Opening. That one's on our list here in the next.
So we used to go to
You
Scratch
just made
all
my
the
meal
time.
plan for the-
Yeah. There you go. Right. Pasta. Well, yeah, we do that too. How about favorite cup of coffee? Where do you go for coffee?
Blues Brews.
Blues Brews for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Downtown. Yep. Sarah's really sweet over there.
Yes, there's all of the ones downtown are
great coffee
but
downtown. Yeah.
absolutely. I'm a big fan of theirs just because I can also grab a book while I'm there. So I'm always checking out their used books that they brought in. So
That's cool. I don't know that. We have a lot of barbecue around. What is your favorite barbecue spot?
So funny enough, I'm not huge on pork, but I do love smoked turkey.
Oh.
So Project Barbecue, it's my favorite.
Yes.
But Southern Cross, hard to beat too. So
Both are excellent. Those are probably tip top. The Firehouse is fantastic.
yes,
And they're such good people over there. I love them. I'm trying to
Absolutely.
get them on the podcast. Get on the podcast, Firehouse
oh,
people.
you do. That's a good one.
I think they're, yeah.
The volunteer sandwich over there.
Yes. Tom sold that to me the other day again. I'm like, I know it's delicious. He's like, you got to get it. It's awesome. So I ate it and it was fantastic.
That's how it goes.
It's so good. It is so good. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for putting on TED Talks in our area. I'm excited. Hopefully Carly and I can make it. Mitch, you want to go to the TED Talks with us? Okay. That was a hard sell. He said yes, real quick. Last question. And I'm probably going to guess because it's coming up June 3rd. What gets you fired up? Like you're just like, whoa, let's go.
To me, it is, I always just say community. Everything comes back to community. I'm
Yeah.
excited for all the events that we have going on this year, not just TEDx Johnson City. I'm a big live music fan.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm excited for Blue Plum, Rhythm and Roots, everything.
Yeah.
We've got a really, really good summer lined up.
We do. Our region is rocking. Now, do you get like just super juiced like 2 or 3 days before the TEDx thing because you've got like a million things going on?
It does seem like
Your little
that.
checklist.
Hard to sleep.
You're like, yeah.
Yes. But then once it's done, it's kind of like, now what? Like there's that
My
long
buddies
story.
from the Speedway feel like they have post-event depression a little bit. Because
Yeah.
they're like, let's go. And then they're like, oh,
Suddenly everything's
all the
empty and
adrenaline's
quiet.
down.
Yes.
The next event's like 6 months out. And they're just like, oh.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard, but
Yeah.
but that's what you take as your encouragement to figure out, okay, what's the next thing?
right. What's the next thing? I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Having me.
I enjoyed having you, and I'm sure that the listeners enjoyed learning about TEDx. Hopefully, maybe a listener can be a guest next year,
Absolutely.
guest speaker. And if you have any real estate needs, we would love to help with that, obviously. If you're moving you said some lady's coming back from Charleston, so hey, call us. We'd love to help you get a house here. And we also manage a ton of property for people. And we know a bunch of commercial guys that are great. So we'd love to refer you there as well. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.